Hello everybody, Adam Monk here from FourFourTwo, not Adam 𝗘𝗫𝗧𝗏 today. The most important thing to start the video with, I'll be taking over for a week on the channel. So Adam, very sadly, last week had a loss in the family, so he's gone back up to Newcastle this week, and I'm going to go down to London tomorrow and then take the rest of the videos for this week in the snazzy studio. Got my bedroom today, but yes, Adam's fine. He's just taken a week away to be with his family, so leave him some lovely comments in the comments section. And yes, without further ado, we'll carry on. And you've got me for today. So yes, you've got me for today, the supply teacher of the FourFourTwo YouTube channel. Yes, I do know the syllabus, but every now and then I'll just throw some textbooks out and call it a day, if you know what I mean. And by that I mean I don't have a 𝗘𝗫𝗧𝗏𝗘𝗫 table. But yes, it has been a couple of months since I've done a video on the main channel. So if you are a newcomer and you've not seen anything from me before, then here's my presenting acumen summarising a nice little clip. Yeah, pleasure.
Pleasure to meet you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Lovely stuff.
You've left him hanging.
Oh, sorry. I was looking at the camera. Rule number one of being a supply teacher, don't give your students ammunition. Anyway, class, if you'd like to turn your textbooks to page 17, you'll see the headline Arsenal 1, Manchester United 1, 12th of January 2025, headlined How to Beat Mikel Arteta. Starting with the lineups now, this is my makeshift £15 bought off Amazon tactics board, because if I actually paid the full price for a 𝗘𝗫𝗧𝗏𝗘𝗫𝗍 table in this small bedroom, no female would ever speak to me ever again. Also, it's not as big as a 𝗘𝗫𝗍𝗏𝗘𝗫𝗍 table. Look at the size of these hands. I'm like the Godzilla of being a nerd. But Manchester United, who we're going to go with in the red today because Arsenal played in a sort of whitish hue, they obviously lined up with the, you guessed it, 3-4-3. Across the back three, we had the usual three of 𝗘𝗫𝗧𝗏𝗘𝗫 Martinez and Harry Maguire between both of them. And then across the middle four, of course, we had 𝗬𝗓 Mazraoui, Diogo Dalot, who we will talk a little bit about later, because he actually, conversely in my opinion, won United this game. That does sound mental, but we'll come on to it. And then, in my opinion, the two most important players in the pivot positions, 𝗘𝗫𝗧𝗏, Mainoo and 𝗦𝗶𝗴h 𝗘𝗫𝗓𝗏, who are a much better alternative to what played against Newcastle United, which was, of course, Christian Eriksen and Casemiro. Now, I'm just going to overlay Eriksen and Casemiro's heat maps from that game against Newcastle, and it's very subtle, the difference here. Now, like I said, it is a very subtle difference. I'll just alternate between Eriksen and Casemiro's heat maps here, but you can see that they're almost occupying the exact same areas of the pitch despite playing the same position, which is not good. Compare that to 𝗦𝗶𝗴h 𝗘𝗫𝗓𝗏 today, and you can see quite clearly, I'm not going to get my hands in the way of this tactics board, by the way, because it will just cover the overlay, but you can see that he's a lot more all action and occupying more areas on the pitch. But then you switch to 𝗘𝗫𝗓𝗏 Mainoo, and boom, there you go. Despite partnering 𝗦𝗶𝗴h 𝗘𝗫𝗓𝗏, his positioning's a lot more varied, and that's kind of what you need from a double pivot. You need the best of both worlds. Mainoo likes to carry it further forward, 𝗘𝗓𝗏's that rock, the guy who screens the back line. It's much more of an equilibrium, makes more sense for any opponent, not just a midfield as good as Newcastle United's or Arsenal's or Liverpool's. Then across the front three, the three players are expected to stretch Arsenal's defence in transition: Alejandro Garnacho, Bruno Fernandes and Rasmus Højlund. So then coming on to Arsenal's lineup, David Raya in goal, Jurrien Timber at right back, Gabriel and Saliba of course at centre back. Then at left back, a massive blow for Arsenal today, of course, not having Calafiori, who is so handsome that he made the team collectively lose aura, apparently. So yeah, let's go with Lewis Skelly at left back. Then into the midfield three, Jorginho at the 6 with Merino and Martin Ødegaard. Yes, Martin Ødegaard in the middle. Martin Ødegaard today, probably the most starved individual I've ever seen a player be starved this season, if that makes sense. There was just no runners, no nothing for him in that first half, which is the source of Arsenal's main problems at the moment. Then on the flanks, Martinelli and Gabriel Jesus, with Kai Havertz leading the line, because Alexander Isak plays for Newcastle. Yeah, don't land quite as well when you rob the joke and Newcastle aren't in the video. This is in the 3rd minute of the game, and Gabriel Jesus decides to attempt the most ambitious give and go I think I've ever seen in the history of the FA Cup. You can see United are in a nice compact defensive shape here, with 5 across the back, stretched nice and wide, with 4 across the middle, and Jesus sets off from this pass and tries to make an arced run round the back of the United defence. Ødegaard passes it into the only area of the pitch that he really can do, and look at the difference in yardage here between Jesus and Lisandro Martinez. Like that's a good 3-4 yards of difference. That's kind of how off the pace Arsenal were in this first half when they tried to make runs. And this is ultimately what Martin Ødegaard likes to do. We've seen this so many times. He opens his body up and looks for a runner towards the far post, someone he can give it to who's going to make something happen. We can see here Jesus clearly has given up on making any incisive runs himself, and he'd rather hold the width. But if that is going to be the case, then you actually need someone to make an attacking run to the 6-yard box. The first time round, this doesn't happen, so the ball just gets recycled back to Martin Ødegaard. And don't get me wrong, it's not a bad thing that Ødegaard did this to just recycle the ball, because it's going to draw the midfield out a little bit, and then he can hit that pass. But you can see every time Ødegaard received it in the first half, he was opening his body up and looking for a runner, and consistently it didn't come. After playing the 1-2 with Jorginho, he then hits the cross because there's a little bit more space that he's fashioned, but instantly the cross is shallow and de Ligt is there to anticipate it and clear it, and this was just a rinse and repeat. Literally, because Arsenal sustain the pressure, recycle the ball, and it finds its way onto the right-hand side again, Ødegaard in the same position for like the 5th time in the last 60 seconds. Now, Jesus here is going to go for a similar give and go as he did the previous minute, and this one works a lot better, but just look at Manchester United's backline. This is all they had to really do today to ensure that Arsenal just couldn't open the door. It's a give and go and the ball is a little bit overhit, but if it wasn't and Jesus wasn't stretching for the ball and had time to put a ball in, look at where the space would be in the penalty area here. It'd be on the edge of the D and behind the penalty spot. And Manchester United's backline was so compact in this game that even if he had time to touch the ball and pick that area of the pitch out, he wouldn't have been able to do so, because Maguire, Martinez and 𝗈𝗫𝗓 were positioned almost perfectly to cut that passing lane out without the need to have a defensive mid on the edge of the box. Now, in fairness to him, in my opinion today, the only real player in the first half for Arsenal who understood what Martin Ødegaard wanted was 𝗕𝗫𝗧𝗎. This give and go is really, really nice, and he just seemed to have a bit more energy about him than the other Arsenal attackers. But if you just stop it there, of course, this is the offside goal. The anticipation from Matthijs de Ligt here is just absolutely superb, and he was the man of the match today for me, without a doubt. You can see Martinelli's ready to make the run. Maguire's stepped up a little bit. The back line is a back 4 right now, and it's not completely rigid. There is space there to run in behind. But what for me is the most impressive thing here is the know-how that Matthijs de Ligt can see that Jesus is running onto the ball, therefore there's a fraction of a second before he's going to hit this pass. Which if you just slowly go through, you see there, de Ligt steps forward and therefore plays Martinelli offside. It's just an absolutely brilliant bit of defending. That split second, if you just roll back and forwards through the footage, as Ødegaard's back heel is going into Jesus' path, that's when de Ligt knows, bang, I'm going to step forward. So then by the time the pass is hit, Martinelli's just several yards offside. So every Manchester United defender today was just absolutely, well, okay, barring one, all the other Man United defenders and midfielders were on their absolute A-game in terms of anticipating passing lanes, playing people offside, and generally just keeping that backline rigid so Arsenal couldn't break the deadlock in open play anyway. Now, the next thing that Manchester United absolutely nailed today was the transitions, much like Newcastle United did when they won 2-0 the other day. So it's nice to see both clubs harmonising after the massacre 2 weeks before. And I can prove it too. First of all, let's have a little flashback to 𝗕𝗫𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓 Whoa! In decision, this impossible situation he's in just gives Isak all the time in the world to play this frankly pornographic pass to Jacob Murphy. And were it not for this frankly brilliant, I'm deadly serious, foul by Leandro Trossard, Murphy likely rolls this back to Isak here and he's got a really good chance. Thank you very much, Adam. Now have a look at this. It's not quite the same kind of transition as Newcastle United, but Manchester United get the upper hand of Arsenal on the right-hand side yet again. And right here, 𝗕𝗫𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓 simply loses his 50-50. This was a common theme for Arsenal today that Manchester United just really capitalised on. But now you have Mazraoui bearing down on Arsenal's goal in almost the exact same situation that Jacob Murphy was the other day. And from almost the exact same position on the pitch, Arsenal commit almost the exact same tactical foul as they did on Alexander Isak, this time on Bruno Fernandes. There's a blueprint here, there's space to be had in this area of the pitch against Arsenal, and I don't really know what you can put that down to, whether it's the profile of 6 that Arteta's invested in. I have always said in previous videos, I don't think Declan Rice is an out-and-out 6. He wasn't playing on the pitch at this particular juncture. Jorginho was, but also, do I think Jorginho's good enough anymore to play lone 6 at his age? I'm not quite sure. I think this is a recruitment issue, to be honest. Someone who's able to snuff this out better than the current players they've got are. And don't get me wrong, as Adam said in the previous clip there, that was actually quite a good tactical foul. The transition was slightly different. But I don't think the necessity to make a tactical foul like that in the United instance should have even been there in the first place. If you look when 𝗕𝗫𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓 goes to ground here, and Mazraoui breaks away with the ball, there is just a void in the middle of the pitch being occupied by Bruno Fernandes. And how that foul wasn't given, by the way, I do not know. So going into half-time, Manchester United's defensive game plan was set in stone. Stay defensively resolute and then capitalise on Arsenal's piss-weak 50-50 challenges, which they continue to do. You remember I just showed you that 𝗬𝗓𝗍𝗫 one there? Well, it happened again, twice, and then United went 1-0 up. So going into the second half, I think Arsenal actually tried to change the pace of the game and the way they played slightly. You can see here David Raya going for a long ball to Raheem Sterling, which wasn't really the case in the first half. United obviously win the ball. It's Maguire on Sterling. You can't even really call this a transition. This is literally United keeping the ball in their own back line and then Maguire hitting a ping over to the side of Diogo Dalot. Okay, this isn't a 50-50, it's two players going for a header. It's maybe a 70-30 in Dalot's favour, but still, it's an Arsenal player committing his body and challenging for the ball, and if United win it, he's going to be out of the game. United do win the ball. Now, what should a smart centre-back like Gabriel do here when he's up against 𝗕𝗓𝗓𝗓, a player who's much smaller and much physically weaker than him? Probably show a bit of temperament and not do this. He just goes for the header and tries to recycle possession and just gets it completely and utterly wrong. And then Garnacho wins that ball. And instantly then, not even from a counter-attacking position or a transition, you have a 3v2. And this goal is just as simple as Manchester United capitalising on several Arsenal mistakes, going back from the goal kick, going long to Sterling, to then losing the second ball, to then losing the third ball, and United capitalised on each and every one. Arsenal were just overcommitting from the offset of the second half instantly, and it was their undoing. Now, the reason I said that Diogo Dalot might have won the game for Manchester United, it sounds crazy, but Arsenal at this point might have been second-guessing their overcommittance early on in the second half. What then gave them licence to do that even more was United going down to 10 men. My opinion might seem as stupid as Diogo Dalot's foul here, but trust me, I think this changed a lot. Arsenal did score a goal, by the way, and yes, it was a set piece. They right now are basically the footballing equivalent of the Detroit Pistons in the 90s in the NBA, just brute force. And listen, I actually think Manchester United would have defended this had they had an extra man on the pitch. But in terms of open play, I think going down to 10 men did help United. So let's just brush over this set piece because we're here to talk about United. And I just think, you know, there was an extra man in the box and it's hard enough defending Arsenal when it's 11v11 from set pieces. Martin Ødegaard has the ball yet again in the exact same position he spent the entire game in, but for good reason. The difference here this time is that every outfield Manchester United player is in shot, as is Declan Rice in the penalty area. Now, this is just something that wasn't happening in the first half. Of course, Arsenal needed to go for the win or wanted to go for the win, but they were committing an extra body, a midfielder they brought on to almost play a second striker role, which left so much more space for United to just hit them on the break. So conversely, with Dalot getting sent off, it gave Arsenal the impetus to put more men forward, which made United more dangerous on the break. More chances came for United when they went down to 10 men. Now look, it was a great ball by Ødegaard and an even better save by Bayern. And I understand if Rice scored this header, this is kind of how this channel works on YouTube. If Rice scored this header, I'd have had to make a video on how brilliant Arsenal were today and how they beat Manchester United and eventually broke them down. But that's football. Sometimes you don't score your chances and that was always going to happen. The point I'm trying to make is United were more threatening when they went down to 10. Jesus. And I can prove it, you know. This was with 5 minutes to go. Again, every United outfield player in shot. The crosses, I mean, I'm not even sure what this is from Martinelli. Is it a cross? Is it a shot? He kicks the ball. And it's snuffed out instantly. But look where Declan Rice is. The man who's meant to be helping Arsenal not concede chances in transition. He's in the penalty area when 𝗬𝗓𝗍𝗫 picks the ball up. And it was a bit of individual brilliance from 𝗬𝗓𝗍𝗫, to be fair, which you do need in a game like this. But then just look at the turnover. The amount of space Amad has here is just something that wasn't afforded to any United player in the first half of the game. Having said everything I have said, though, if Arsenal had a different individual on the end of this chance, then, yeah, I'd definitely be making a different video. If I was to sum up United's performance here in one word, it would be resilient. Because yes, you are going to concede chances when you go down to 10 men against a team like Arsenal that are committing more bodies forward. But the individual brilliance from some of those defenders today, as well as the collective in terms of keeping structured, was second to none. And I'm talking about 𝗕𝗓𝗍𝗫 de Ligt and this block right here. This is a brilliant piece of play from Arsenal, and it's a tricky one for Lisandro Martinez to deal with, because if he doesn't get out to Jorginho can simply have a shot on goal. But it's this from de Ligt. I don't care how many charts, graphs, numbers you wave in someone's face, you cannot quantify how good a piece of defending that is. I think what's most impressive about it is he almost blindsides Trossard. You'd expect Maguire to be the one on Trossard there, but he sniffs out that that's where the ball's going to go. You'd think usually De Ligt to be hanging to the back post to stop Declan Rice from scoring, but no, he comes in on Trossard's blind side and just hooks it away. It's one of the best pieces of defending I've seen individually this season. So yeah, Manchester United went on to win the shootout, as we all know. If you'd like a little clip from that, then here's... Actually, let's look at this. Can anyone tell me what David Raya's doing here? He looks like a bodyguard trying to stop a bullet from hitting the king or something. I've never seen a dive like that in my life. But yes, guys, a game of resilience for Manchester United and a game of few ideas for Mikel Arteta and Arsenal. Maybe it was the FA Cup ball. Who knows? Don't forget to subscribe though, guys. I've been Adam Monk. I usually would have a physical copy of the magazine here, but our lovely editor will put it here now somewhere. Yep, there's the mag. You can buy that at all good retailers. And yes, I'm going to head to London tomorrow now. So yeah, I'll see you later this week. Goodbye.